Hi everyone, welcome back to another session of Lightning Web Components. In this particular session, we are going to talk about tree grid structure in LWC. So let's say you have a requirement wherein you want to display your data in a hierarchical format wherein more than one object is involved, right? So you can use tree grid structure. All right, so let's just understand this with an example. So yes, so this is the table that I have. Here you can see I am displaying few account names and then I'm displaying first name and last name. So what I want to do is that every time I click on this arrow, it should show me the related contacts that are available on this account, which are related to this account. And then I want to display their respective first name and last name. All right. So let's just go ahead and implement this with an example. Before we move to the Lightning Web component, there are two things that you have to keep in mind. The first one is that in order to create such Lightning data table, you would be using Lightning tree grid rather than Lightning data table tag that we actually use in the template file. The second thing is that whatever the nested data that you want, right? When you click and whatever the data that you want to display at the first level, right? Or you can say the second level, right? So there you would be passing that nested data into a keyword called _children. Okay. So if you're not getting it right now, that's all right. Let's just go ahead and see it with an example. So I will move to my VS Code and let's just go ahead. So first of all, I know that these are the details that I want, right? Account and then their respective contact details. So I will first go ahead and create an Apex class so that I can create a method and fetch these details. And then we'll start with the Lightning Web Component part. So I will create a class. Okay, and in this class, I'm going to create a method. And the return type, I'm keeping it as list of account because that is what I want to return from this method. And here I would simply write return and then the details that I want. Select ID, name, and then I'm putting a subquery. Okay. From account, and let's put a limit of 3. I don't want to display a lot of data, so I'm only fetching 3 records. Okay. So here, if you actually observe the inner query, I am I'm not using contact, rather I'm using contacts, right? Because whenever you are writing an inner query, you are supposed to fetch the data from the child relationship name. So let me just show you quickly. So let's say if I move to my object manager and if I navigate to contacts, so here, if you see, the API name of the object is contact, but what am I using over there? I'm using contacts, right? And why am I using contact? Because the child relationship name of this object with account is contact. So this is the lookup to account, right? And here is the child relationship name. So that's how you write an inner query. All right. So this is my class. Let me just deploy this. And let's move towards the LWC component. So here in my HTML file, as I told you guys that we would be using something such as Lightning tree grid tag rather than Lightning data table. So Lightning tree grid. Okay. and we have to pass the attributes. So let's just pass the key field. Key field should be ID. And then we would also have to, because we are trying to display a table, right? So we have to pass the columns. And here let's just define an attribute which we would be like, preparing in JavaScript file. I'm just naming it as grid columns. And then we want to display data, and let's just also give it a name as grid data. Don't worry about these attributes because we would be preparing these attributes in JS file, okay? And then I'm also going to define something as on row selection, okay? So let's say if somebody will be displaying checkboxes along with the records. So for example, if I go here, go back to here. So these checkboxes, right? Let's say if somebody selects the first one and the third one. So what I want to do is I want to actually take the input values, that which rows are selected, which data is selected, right? So that for that, I'm just creating this one on row selection. And again, here, I'm just calling a method handle row selection. Okay. So this is my HTML file, and let me also prepare my meta file. Okay. So let me just take it from somewhere. So this record page. And here, what I would be doing is Lightning homepage. I believe this is right. Otherwise, let me just, yeah, it should be something exactly like this. Otherwise, it won't work. So I'm just taking this one. Okay. So XML file is done. We have defined our HTML file as well. Now let's go to the JS file. So the first thing that we would be doing is we are going to import this method, all right, into the JS file. And let's just name it something as get account contact details, all right, from and then we have to give the class name dot method name. Class name dot, this is my method name. All right, so this is the first step. Okay, now I have to prepare the, we can just go by the HTML file. Okay, now we have to prepare the columns. So what will I do is I'm just going to define a property named as grid columns. Okay, grid columns. And if you guys remember how to actually fill in the values in the columns, then it's good. If not, then you'll just understand it right away. So here, whatever the data that you want to display on your table, right? Name, first name and last name. So we have 3 columns. So that is what we are going to define over there. And we have to define under curly braces. So first, and so let's just fill. So the first thing that I'm giving is label. Okay. Label, it's the header of the column, so you can give whatever you want. So I'm just giving it as account name, and then we have to give the field name. So inside the field name, you have to give the API value. Okay. So account name, what is the API value for the account name? It's name, right? So here it is. Let's just copy this. The second column that I want to display is first name, and the API value is first name, and then this one is for last name. And here I'll just, okay, so the columns are prepared. Now what I want to do is I want to define another variable for grid data. Okay, so here is my grid data. So let's just say sorry, did I, okay, grid data. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to write an imperative method, right, in order to get the result from this particular attribute that I have defined here, in order to, like, wherein I'm fetching the data from this method. Okay. So if you guys remember, when you're actually using imperative method and not a wire method, so you can call an imperative method on any kind of event, right? If there's a button click or something like that. Or let's say in this case, I just want to display the table on the component load, right? So in that case, what you can do is you can basically define your imperative method inside the connected callback, because connected callback method is such a method that loads, that is the first thing that loads when your component gets loaded. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, because I don't have any other event, right? Any click event or any such thing. So I'm going to define connected callback, and inside connected callback, I'm going to use my imperative method. So here, this is where I'm getting the result, right? So here, so whenever you're using imperative method, you basically get a promise in return, right? And in that you would have to define two blocks. One is for then, one is for catch. So if there's any data that you would have to receive under then block, otherwise you can basically, like, receive your error in the error block. Okay. So here dot then and result. This is the syntax. Okay. And then here, let's just define catch as well. Catch. And for error, I'm just going to, like, keep it in the console log. So here, okay. So now, as I said, right, that whatever the nested component, nested data that you'll have, right? So nested data in this case is the contact data, right? If I click on this, the next level of data that I would be seeing is from contact, right? So nested data, I would have to transfer into underscore children keyword, right? I have to define an attribute. Not I have to define an attribute. I can directly, like, transfer the nested data into underscore children attribute. Okay. And that's a keyword. That's how you have to use it. Okay. So let's just go ahead. And so before I do that, I would have to fetch. So from the result, I have to, like, we cannot, this is in the object form. Okay. So you cannot directly actually, like, separate it, or, like, you cannot take contacts out of the this object response. Okay. So for that, what you have to do is you have to pass the result, and then you have to stringify it so that you can transfer your contacts from, like, from the response to the underscore children attribute. All right. So what will I do? I'm just gonna take another variable. Let's just name it as temporary, something like this, and then I would just parse and then JSON dot stringify, and I will be stringifying the result. Okay. Here. All right. So this is what we have now. Now here I will have I have stringified the result. Now whatever the result that I'll get, right, that would be in form of array. Okay. And from every record of array, I would have to fetch out the contacts, right? Because that's what my agenda is, to fetch out the contacts so that I can transfer that into the grid structure. Sorry, the dot children keyword. Okay. So what will I do here is I'm going to run a for loop where I equals to 0 and I is less than, and till this length, right? Till whatever array data it has. And then let's just increment this. Okay. So now I'm running a loop over the stringified result of the response. Okay. So here now I have to fetch the context out of it. Okay. So what, let's just create another attribute here. So related contacts. Okay. And here from every record, okay, from every record, that is why we have run this loop, right? From every record, that means ith record, right? Whatever the iteration it is on, what I need to fetch is I need to fetch the contacts. So here I'll just copy this and I'll pass this here. Okay, now I have this. Now what I have to do now, I have the, like, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to separate the contacts, right? And I have separated the contacts, taken out the contact from every data, every data record from the array, and I have kept it inside this. Now what I have to do, I have to pass this inside the dot children, right? That's how the grid structure is formed. That is how you can form it. So what will I do is I'm going to temp I, right, for every record dot, and then this is the keyword children. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the contacts to this. Okay, this is the children. Okay, now before we proceed, I want to show you that how. So let me first, okay, hold on, I think, let me just, all right. So let's just deploy this first and see what we have got till now. Okay, this is not completed, but I will just put a console over here, and then we'll see what and all, if you are getting the parent and child record or not. So let me just go ahead, and this is the other component. This one is demo tree structure. Let me reload this. This one. So I'll just put it here. I haven't assigned anything to the data value, right? So that is why it's blank. Now let's just go to here. Let me refresh this. Meanwhile, I'll go and put a console over here. So let me first put a console over here. And here, let me print temp data. And I would have to stringify it. And let me also put a console over here. Okay, or you can just simply put a console over here, and you can just display this. And here I'll just put in as children. Okay. All right, this looks fine to me. Let me just deploy this. Okay. So let's just refresh this. Here you can see the console log. Okay, so here you can see the temp, this log, wherein I'm just simply displaying the stringified response, which you can see that with every detail it is showing, it has the account and then its associated contacts, first, second, and then the second account, and then its associated contact, right? It has one contact, and then the third account, and then its associated contacts. Okay, and then here if you see the children, okay, this one is showing you, so here it is. Okay, so the contacts from the first account. Okay, so there are two contacts in the first account. So here you can see the first name is Rose. Here in the second one, the first name is Sean, right? So the first account has two children, so it is showing children. And then in the second iteration for the second account, it is showing the associated contact. It has just one contact. And then in the third iteration for the third account, it is showing the another associated contact. Okay, so we have the children data over here. All right. So what we can do now is, one second. So now as we have transferred all the contact data into the children, what we can do is we can just delete the contacts value. Okay, because if you see here, here, right? Contacts. We don't need this right now, right? In the response, because we have taken out the contacts and we have transferred it into the children. So we can just delete this. So in order to delete this, what I will do is, let me just remove the console for now. Okay, so here, I would be deleting this. And also before this, right, let's just put a check, right? If there is anything in the related contacts, then only we are trying to transfer that into the underscore children. Okay, so I'm just going to put a condition here. If there's anything over here, then I want to do this. Okay, and then this here, I'm just simply going to delete temp I dot contacts. Okay, I don't need this in the response now. I can do this here itself. Okay, now I have to basically, I have the grid data, right? In grid data, I have to assign the data value. Okay, so here, this dot grid data is equals to, so where this is my response, right? And this is where I've been doing all the changes. So this will contain the changes that I've been making to this particular attribute, right? So I have to just simply assign this to grid data. Okay, all right, so if you want to do a console on this, you can do. Or let's just print this. Okay, let me deploy this. So if you see here, right, temp final data, what do we have? We have the account name, okay, and then we have children, right, underscore children. So children, in children, we have the contact details, right? Then account and then children, then account and then children. And we are not seeing contacts because we deleted contacts. We didn't need it anymore. Otherwise, your response, your data would have been something as account underscore children and also contacts, right? So because we had transferred everything from contacts to underscore children, then we didn't need that anymore. So that is why we removed it. Okay. So now what we have to do is, we have already prepared the HTML file, template file. We have defined the grid data over here. So here, if you if you want to go back through the code again, all we are doing is mainly two steps over here. First thing what I have done is, because I'm calling an imperative method, I'm using an imperative method. I have used the connected callback, right? Because I don't have any kind of event like a button click event. And imperative method, that's how it gets called, on based on some event. And we don't have that. That is why we are calling it inside the connected callback. That is point number one. Point number two is that because the response that I would be getting, that will have account information as well as contact information, right? And the tree grid structure only works when you actually pass your nested data to underscore children. Okay, so that is why what we have done is, we have passed and stringified the response, and we have received it inside this temporary variable. Okay, And then we are running a loop over this temporary variable because, for example, in this particular case, right, I have 3 records. So it will have 3 records and I want to make this happen for each and every record. That is why I'm running a loop over here. And with every iteration, what it will do is it will take the nested data. It's transferring the nested data into another attribute that I have defined. And I'm checking if there is a nested data, then take that nested data and pass it to underscore children. Okay. And then I am removing this context from the response. Otherwise the response will contain all the 3 things, right? Account, children, and also contacts. But as I have already transferred the context into underscore children, I am deleting this. Once I have the, once I have transferred this, all the nested data into underscore children, I am just transferring this temp, response, or you can say data into grid data attribute, which is I'm displaying on the HTML file. So let's just deploy this component. And let's see how it looks. So here it is. Okay. And if I click on this, it should show me, see, this particular account has 2 contacts, Rose and Sean. This one has only one. This one also, I think, had only one. Yes. So this is how it is displaying. Now, the other attribute that we have included in the table, right? This one on row selection. So if let's say, you want to receive, let's say if the user is selecting any of these records, right? Any of these records, let's say the first one, or let's say, sorry. Okay, because we haven't done anything on this, right? That is what is giving the error. So if they select like the first one, or let's say this one, right? And you want to receive all the selected values into something, or you want to do any kind of manipulation on the selected records. So I'm just going to show that how you can receive the selected data. Okay, I'm not going to show you any data manipulation on those, but you will get a better picture that on how you can proceed with that. So let's just go here. And so on row selection, what I've done is I've called a method. So we can go to JS file and we can define this method on row selection, and as it is an event, right? So I'll be passing an event, and here what I have to do is I can define another attribute. So let's say selected data or something like that. Okay, and here all this is really easy. All you have to do is you have to use event.detail dot selected rows. Okay, selected, not selected data, selected, I believe this is okay. As sometimes if the R is supposed to be small, it will not work. So that is why I'm just thinking that if this is right or not, but let's just check it out. Let me put a console and selected data. Here I'm just going to put this. Okay, and also so that we can see what and all has been selected here. Let's go and check. Okay, so first let me clear this out, and I'm just gonna select, let's say this one. So see, selected data is this one. Account name is Burlington, right? This is the account that I've selected. Okay, and here it is has children true, right? So let's say if you want to also display what's inside the what are the children values of this particular account, you can do that as well. And in order to do that, so let's say, let me put like, another console for that. Okay. So that I'll display the first name and the last name. So here I have all of the selected values inside this, right? So I will be running a loop over this. Then, and I will just print the first name and the last name. So here, all I have to do is I have to select data, first name, okay. And here last name. Let me clear this out and I'll select the same one. Okay, here. Undefined. I think I would have to. So if I select this one, yes, here, right? So initially I had not selected any of the child records, right? That is why the first name and the last name was not showing, right? So here in selected data, I did not change the console. This is selected data, right? Let me just quickly change this. Okay, so when I selected this, it will show me the selected record, right? Selected data. And the first name and last name is undefined because I have not selected the child record, right, yet. So let's say I select this. So here it is. Okay. So this is how you can get your selected values if you're selecting anything from the table. Okay. So this was all about tree grid structure and how you can actually select values from your data table and how you can get those values in your JS file. Okay. I will see you in the next session. Bye-bye.